good, y'all? It's your boy Herb.
And it's your girl Mo.
And welcome to our soon-to-be world-renowned podcast, Young, Black, and Figuring It Out. What up, though?
What it do?
Whatever we tell it. You feel me? How you feeling?
You know, great. I slept. I'm happy.
For real?
Yeah.
Nah, actually, me too. I got like 7 hours.
Wow.
But I actually found out recently like 9 hours is what you should be trying to get.
9?
Yeah.
Ain't no way.
Nah, it ain't gonna happen. But I have been trying to do that.
Nice.
So typically right now we would do a what did you figure out this week session, but we ain't got time for that.
You know I got time for that.
Why we ain't got time for that? Why we ain't got time for that?
Oh, you asking me?
Yeah, why we ain't got time for that?
We got some special guests today.
We got special guests in the building who we're about to introduce in just a hot second. But before we do that, let's talk about the topic. So today's topic is going to be about dealing with transitions gracefully and how important that is. I think all of us have been through some tough transitions in our life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the seasons.
Always.
Sometimes it's sunny. Sometimes it's winter. All those good things. But right now, talk about all of that, life and beyond. So
Buzz Lightyear,
go to our special, Buzz Lightyear, we out here. Let's go to our special guest in the building. Our first guest, Miss Joe.
Hello.
What up, though?
Channeling my inner podcast voice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
Yeah. My name is Joanna Shemenda. I am a nursing major. Know these amazing people from Robert Johnson College.
Yep.
That's where I go. Let's see. I'm a Leo. I don't know if that matters.
That is important, though.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Orlando or Orlando. Depends on the day, I think.
He fancy.
I just graduated from Robert's undergrad. Music major, marketing minor. Don't do it. Just kidding. And I'm a current grad student, education. So I'm gonna be a teacher.
Lovely.
I'm an Aquarius. I don't know what that means.
Guys.
Though, so.
Yeah,
I don't care about. I don't do that, so I don't know.
I like
fun.
how y'all added that in
I'm
there.
an Aries.
I think it's important.
Shit. I guess we all doing it. I'm a Virgo. So I guess
So 3 on the
thing.
Enneagram. I don't know.
Oh, so you did the Enneagram.
Sure do.
How many times? Can't count them. About 5.
Probably 2.
I've done 5.
Wow.
And I bought it because I was so invested. Don't know how much it works, but I do think it
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's good. Okay. So actually, at some point in time, we have to talk about that. Like, what do we figure out with some of the self-assessments? Because the Enneagram is a good one.
It's
But
a good one.
Painful.
yeah, they're actually not paying us for our sponsorships. So we ain't gonna give them no more. It's okay. We'll come back. But no, real quick though. So transitions. I think this is an important topic. And just to be fair, just to go back. So these amazing guests, part of the reason why they're here is we have been able to see them grow and transition into amazing people. And we've seen some of the things that we hope they'll be able to share today and how they've transitioned into who they are, the things they're doing and continue to do. And actually are stepping into some transitions as well. So we want to cover all of that. But before we actually get into some nuances and transitions, when you think of that word or transitioning, what does that mean to you?
I think the most basic thing is one place to another, one season to another season, like you were saying. I don't know. It's not. It can be hard, but I think for the most part, the outcome is good. You know, you figure out who you're supposed to be, turns into who you're meant to become, type of thing. I always say everything happens for a reason, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. People come in your life, whether they're good, bad, or ugly, because they shape you to who you're supposed to be. So yeah, that's what I think of. Just like change, really.
Yeah.
I think of transition as like a lot of what Orlando said, but also kind of like coming to terms with something. It's like almost like a realization period. And a lot of things are revealed. So like, especially the transitions I've been going through, I feel like a lot of them is like a revealing time. And Lauryn Hill has this amazing line where it's like, how you gonna like, you can't heal unless you reveal. And so I think that's really deep. So transitions are always like that kind of like tough, kind of gritty period, but are important and helping growth.
Yeah. What about you?
Better answers than I had. I have anxiety producing. It is just a journey of pain, I see. And I like everything you guys said, but I'm not good at seeing the end of the tunnel. So while I'm in the transition, it's almost like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
What's going on? Where is this leading? Where is this going? And it builds way more anxiety than I would prefer.
Right.
So I think it's me learning how to better handle that because transitions are inevitable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. And I think for me, the transition is, and I made a joke earlier about like the winter and the fall and the summer and all that, but in all seriousness, like I actually see it that way. Like transition is all of that. I think it's just not the difficult things, which I would like align with winter. It's just not like what you reaping what you sown, which is fall. It's not just the spring or the summer, because all of those things actually, I think, are a part of a transition. And to be honest, too, I've learned in each of those phases. Like, there's times where I was in summer, and it's like, okay, I took that for granted and thought it would last forever, and so I didn't prepare for things that were coming in winter. You know what I mean? And so I had to learn through like all of those things. So I see transition as like you having to navigate each part of life, like success, difficulty, you know what I mean, complacency, stillness, all of that. It's kind of how I see a transition, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so with that, first question, I think this is good. And y'all can just jump in. If you hear something, this ain't class. They say students and all that, you know? So yeah, you're like, dang, you ain't got to raise.
Teacher.
They're sitting there like
Mister?
dang, should I just jump in? Yeah, just say whatever you want. But the other question I have with that is, when did y'all start to, or like, how did you start to recognize you're in a transition phase? Because I think that's a part of what I think keeps people, maybe keeps people back, is they don't recognize that they're in transition. They kind of get stuck in a space, you know what I mean? And can't really reflect on, you know what, I'm transitioning. You know, like, have y'all gotten good at recognizing that? And when did that happen for y'all?
I think for me, there was two things. The one was when everyone else was moving and I felt like I was still stagnant. Like, that was kind of like a realization of, okay, there's a transition period happening here. Like, kind of when's my time? And then when things in my life started not being comfortable. So I kind of was in this space where everything was comfortable for me. Like, I didn't have to reach too much. Or if it came to different opportunities I had, a lot of them were given. A lot of them were earned, but it wasn't like so much hard earned for it. It was like, okay, here's this young lady, you know, she's, you know, built herself enough to have these opportunities. And then, like, you know, here it comes. And now it's like I'm in this place where it's not comfortable and I feel myself working more than I ever had to before. And I think a lot of that is me realizing that, okay, I'm in a transitional period where I have to get out of that comfortability and like grow more. And that's actually, this transition period is hard, but it pushed me to like know exactly what I want and like the goals I want. So then I'm going to work harder because I know it's like not I always know it wasn't handed for me, but I know it's not going to be easy. And just stepping out of that comfortability with confidence. So just hard.
You said, how do we know we're in one?
Yeah, like, have you gotten to that place where you can recognize, like, okay, this is a transition time for me?
I think it depends on what transition is happening, if that makes sense. Like, you know, you have transition with friends, or you have transition with family members, with yourself figuring things out, or with life with a job. Like, job things are easy to recognize because you physically are, either you quit or got fired, or you're applying or sitting on your butt just waiting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think being able to recognize, like, for me, it's been easier to see that, kind of what Joanna said, in terms of like everyone else was doing something. Not that I wasn't doing something, but I was doing something different, or I wasn't on the same wavelength. And I think for me, that was like not only me transitioning to a different point in life, but the people I surrounded myself with. Like, I was like, I don't want to do those things. So I'm not gonna transition out of that and into something else. Like, you know, I was telling my brother the other day, like, you think that the friends you have in middle school and high school will be there for the rest of your life. I have maybe really only one friend that, like, my best friend from high school.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like, you would think that transition was hard. Like, it took me a while to be like, I don't talk to these people anymore.
Right.
Like, for people, it's like, okay, we were friends, we graduated, we're in college. I haven't heard from you in X amount of whatever. You know what I'm saying? You're living your life, I'm living mine, and it's fine. So I think, like, being like, okay, well, where's everyone else moving? Where do I want to move was like the best way for me to figure it out. At least as I got older. When I was younger, change was not fun for me at all. So
Yeah.
That's
I get
real.
that.
Yeah, I would say a lot of what they said is just not being as comfortable with like things that you used to love or enjoy. You know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden this doesn't bring me the same level of excitement or anything like that. It's like, this just doesn't feel right for me anymore. I think I need to change, or I think, you know, something else is calling me, and being open to that or being okay to that. I think more recently I've been realizing it, and it was maybe, I don't know, a 10-year gap of not changing really, you know, being very closed off, being too afraid. And like the moment I was like, you know what, let's just see, let me try one thing, and like everything not being, the world didn't end.
Yeah,
oh,
facts.
that's okay. I can do this. And once you kind of open yourself up to that, transitions or change or, it just comes toward you more.
Yeah, that's facts. And for me too, I think you mentioned being uncomfortable. Like, and that really, I think that triggers for me, like, oh, I'm in a transition when I'm uncomfortable. Because a few of the transitions I went through recently, difficult, because it came with, like you said, Orlando, it came with loss, like things I had to shed or let go or not be around certain things. And that's hard. I'm not gonna lie. When you've been doing something for so long, you got to move on. So my most recent one was but the most recent one that was like a major part, you know what I'm saying, was like with Roberts.
Teardrops.
Sort of laughing.
Yeah.
Because they know where this is going.
They knew. They like, dang, this is trauma. This is
That was a
traumatizing
hard
for
transition
everybody.
for us too.
Hard transition.
Yo, difficult.
What?
Difficult leaving because it was people who I care about, people who I love, people who I've been around. And it's like, okay, I had to make a decision on in order for the betterment of what I'm trying to accomplish. Not just for me, but everyone.
Yeah.
Either I make this move, right,
Yeah.
or I don't. And there was a window of opportunity because that's the other thing with transitions. A lot of the times at the end of it, and that's the spring and the summer, it's things that you really want.
Right.
If you don't choose to go through it, you will never really get there.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right. But the window is closing. You can't just wait,
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to do it. And I'm not gonna lie, it was tough. Like, and you most seen it. It was
Yeah.
grief. It was like,
So I didn't
dang.
see no part of that.
It was rough.
So the aftermath.
I was just out.
Doubt comes in and then like second guessing and wondering, well, is this the right choice? Should I do it? And like
Yeah.
almost trying to talk yourself out of doing it. Yeah. Surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jump in.
I think that another really hard part with transition is like kind of the aspect I mentioned earlier of, in order to heal, but like the self-realization part that you have to do internally. Because you have to be ready to transition. You can't transition to something new and then like you're not prepared. So then this new thing you're trying to transition to, you're just not, ready or adequately fit for in that moment.
Right.
And I think what's hard is like kind of having a self kind of realization moment and like looking internally, okay, and being like, what about me right now needs to, be ready or needs to be deconstructed in order to prepare myself for this next phase of my life, this next season.
Yeah.
Because that next season might be winter and fall, you know what I mean? And summer might be the season right after it, but you may need to may need to like prepare yourself for the winter and fall in order to get to that like summer season.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I think I'm going through now is kind of like that self-reflection, which is hard because I think when you start kind of peeling back those layers, like, oh, these are things I need to fix, it becomes like a wall. It's kind of like a barrier, but it ultimately is the best thing. But kind of like what you mentioned, Mo, it's hard when you can't see that light there. So
Yeah.
I feel like also if we're talking a lot about things that you're already knowing are going to happen. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of transitions that just pop up, whether it's someone, you losing someone, you getting fired from your job, you getting a new job opportunity. Like those are things you can't, I agree. Like there's some things you have to prepare for and you're not going to succeed or do as well as you can if you don't prepare for them.
Yeah.
But then the things that get thrown at you, how, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you do? Like, those are things you have to think on your feet or you have to just figure it out. And sometimes there's timeline, like, with people having enough, getting food on the table or, having a place to live one day, you know what I'm saying? Like things like that gratefully, like I didn't have to deal with growing up. I was very blessed and fortunate, but there's other things like, people in my family, passing away and stuff that we weren't prepared for that stuff to happen. And that stuff affects you. And I think those also teach you how in the future to prepare. You can prepare as much as you can, but at some point you just got to deal. You just got to deal.
Well, too, like to that point, you almost got to be, it's like a thing where when things happen that you can't control, like a transition happens and you work through it, because like nothing lasts forever. Like you're going to get through it at some point. You just got to keep going through it. I think once you get through that, like you have to go back and deal with another part of the transition, which is probably trauma. Like you got to go back and deal with the things that happen to you
stuff.
for sure that you never dealt with. And that actually to that point, and then I want to come back because y'all sound like y'all got some personal stories. I'm like, we got to hear about this. We got to hear about this. But like, actually, it's a personal story with this though. So when I was going through the Roberts transition, I was grieving literally before it even happened. Like I literally was like through every emotion of like fear, but the most one was kind of like sadness or loss. And I'm like, why am I feeling like this? Like this is actually a win for me to transition to my new space. And so what I realized though is that it actually was only partially Robert's. Most of it was past trauma. So like when I was and I've told the story a bunch of times, so there's no sorrow because we're winning now. But when I was a kid, we literally got evicted a number of times. And the first time that it happened was my childhood home, you know? And then when we got evicted, I just remember coming home and moving out, like bags there and we gone. But I didn't have any emotion with that. Like I wasn't sad. I wasn't angry the first time. None of that. It just happened. And I had been there for 13 years of my life. So what I realized was I never actually dealt with the pain that was, like losing something stable. So now fast forward to the Robert situation, it's the same kind of thing. Now I was more emotionally receptive to it. All of the emotions that happened back then came back. And that's why I was feeling like that. Like, I never did it. And that's to your point. Like you might not ever know, you know, when it's coming, but you have to go back and deal with it.
Yeah.
Like you really got to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If not, it's going to stay with you.
Yep.
And it's gonna be a wrap. So hey, but yeah, I know y'all got some. I know because I actually do know. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about
Giving
some of
too
that.
personal.
It's giving personal.
It's giving interview. That was a podcast.
Talking together, not at me.
Let's hear it.
The first one I can think of is when I was a child. I'm 23 now, but going from when I went to school in elementary school, it was kindergarten through 5th grade, and then 6th and 8th through 8th was middle school. And going from 5th grade to 6th grade was probably the worst part of my entire life.
Really?
It was awful. Like at that point, I didn't know that I had anxiety and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I didn't know what I was feeling. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like I'm Caribbean, and that kind of stuff is, you know.
Yes, I do.
And in the Black community too, like it's just a taboo thing talking about mental health and stuff.
Caribbean,
like
Jamaican,
that. And
Puerto Rican.
oh, look at you. But which side is which though?
I already know. Pop's Jamaican.
There we
Mom's
go.
Puerto
There we
Rican.
go.
Oh, yeah, I told
You
you.
think it's the other way? I'm like, no.
It's wrong. Bayesian.
Yes,
Gotcha. Okay,
yes.
keep going. So anxiety. 5th
Yeah.
grade,
So
6th
like
grade.
my mom was, she like found me in my room like freaking out one night. She like got me this book, and we were like reading through it's like an anxiety book for kids or whatever. But having to like sit down and be like, this is okay. I spent kindergarten through 5th grade is a long time of my life, and that's like the most developmental, you know, rich years of your life. So I was so used to the routine of my elementary school, and I had only heard horror stories from my cousins about middle school that I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want that for myself. Like I'm good. But then when I went to middle school to high school, it was easier because I had already done it. And then when I went to high school to college, I was like, thank God, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. But yeah, I think that was like the first time I could really remember struggling
in a transition
with the
like
change.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had like lost people in like my great grandmother died 4th grade, and my uncle was murdered 5th grade, 11 months apart. So, and I was just talking to my family about this the other day, but like I was young. I was old enough to understand, but I was young enough where I couldn't process. So when years later, when other things were happening, other people were like, you know, getting ready to pass away, I was like we were saying, I was dealing with the stuff from before. And I was like, why am I so, why is this so heavy? Like, why am I struggling so much more than I was before? And it was like, because I hadn't dealt with it before.
Yes.
I wasn't at the place in my life where I could reflect and be like, oh, that's a problem. That's something that I have to work through.
Yeah.
The most recent thing, though, I think is probably the real world, like graduating, switching out of my job that I had for like 5 years. I've been working at Gates Recreation for 5 years, and I'm a teacher. So it's just that's a
Ooh, okay. We're gonna come back to talk about that one. We gotta dive
story.
more into that. But that's gonna be good. That's gonna be good. And because I gave Joe a note, I took a note that you said. That was actually good though.
Oh no.
Old enough to understand, but young enough that I couldn't process. I think that could be a podcast. That's a lot of what happens to our kids. But we'll come back to that in a different episode. We'll invite y'all back.
Okay, I was about to say, you're welcome.
Yeah, that was good. That's good. I see Joe ready to jump in. Let's talk about your life.
Little backstory, and it'll be really quick, but like your girl up, pastor's kid, and
PK.
so part of that is we moved around a lot, and so Robert's I had a very like good. I still do have a very good like family structure, very like stable. But as far as like home, like staying in a place, I think Roberts was the first time where I was somewhere for a very long time, and it wasn't like there wasn't much, you know.
And Robert's at the college y'all go
Yes,
to.
Roberts Wesleyan College.
We international, you know,
Yeah.
people in Sweden listening. Keep going.
That was the first place where nothing was shaken. It was very stagnant, and I was comfortable in that. And so last year, I won't get into it, but something very dramatic happened to me in my program, and it just shook the core of my being. And it was something I'm still trying to process, and something that still kind of shows its face in different moments and different things and through different people. But I think the reason that kept me at Roberts was my community and the people that I was around, and especially like upper administration, stuff like that. And then this year, all that community left. Talk about trauma.
Trauma. Right over there.
And so,
Sorry.
You know?
and so with that community, well, a real reason why I stayed was because I was ready to go. All honesty here.
So you was ready to leave Roberts
Yes.
at that point. Gotcha.
Yeah. But the real reason why I stayed, because I was like, oh my gosh, here's this community that is rallying behind me, that's fighting for me, that believes in me, and has seen me grow since I was a freshman. And then that community leaving, and then, you know, in the stage that I am right now, it's like I'm almost tired to trying to get back that reputation. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm in this transition of like, I don't have those same people vouching for me. I do have people vouch for me now, but it's one of those things where like I didn't for so long. So it's like the people who would be in my corner, not saying that they weren't, but they're just not around as much. And so it was like that was hard for me, because it was a lot of feeling kind of alone. And then in that, you know, same space, like, you know, my family being where they are and different things. And so it was like a period of me, like, kind of, like, I didn't know, like, kind of your point, like, not knowing the transition. I didn't know that was a transition I was going to have until I came to school, and this person wasn't here anymore. This person wasn't here anymore. This person has a different role, and they're not going to be around. And so I think for me, finding that again was hard. But then understanding, like, I don't necessarily need that, but it was still like a hard process to kind of come to terms with it, because I'm like, here's this safe haven that doesn't feel safe. And here's this place that I stayed because it was like that sense of stability I kind of always wanted in like a home sense, but more so in like a place, you know what I mean, that is now shaken. And I think that's definitely like a God thing in a sense, because it was like it had to push me to be like comfortable in these uncomfortable spaces and having to vouch for myself and advocate for myself without, you know, other people kind of rallying in, even though that helps. But I had to know, I think what I learned through is that I had to know that I can do it. And I had to know that, like, I can, you know, build a reputation on my own. You know, I can, like, stand on my principles. I can still be that person that other people just said about, and they believed other people's words. Like, they can see that kind of in me type thing. And I don't think I would have came to that as early as I have if I wasn't put in those positions where I had to do that.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's kind of what's been going on.
Praise his name.
And you know, when you can see it, like, you know, they talk about it, but when you can see it on a person, and you don't know someone's struggle or their story, but you can see this light, like, for whatever reason, this growth, this change, this assertiveness, it's just, like, so beautiful.
Yeah, I love that.
That's how I feel when I look at them.
Yeah, and those are real things. Like, I think both of y'all touched on at some point in time the idea of, like, while you're in some type of change or growth or transition, like, the idea of support is huge. And that's a real thing. Like, for folks who come, so our cultures, like Black and brown cultures, are a high context culture. And along with that comes with things like community is golden for us.
Right.
Things aren't transactional, they're more so relational. So as we're transitioning with anything, the support of a community is key, you know? And so it was important, though, that you went through that so you could know you could be independent and stand on your own. But the other lesson, too, really, it sounds like, is finding your community, you know, finding who can be there to support you, finding the friends that are supposed to be there, like you talked about, you know?
Yeah,
like,
it takes a while. It takes a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 23 and told my mom the other day, I was like, I feel like the people that I surround myself now, whether there's new people that come in, those are the ones that, like, will be around. Like, my wedding party's planned. Okay, you're in it. She knows this. Like, my wedding party's, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's people that, like, when I was younger, I was like, oh, yeah, we'll be, no. But even with those people, I had to, like, were you really gonna, you know, I might have said, like, oh, we'll be friends forever.
Yeah.
But really, like, part of me was like, I don't think so. Right. You know, so you just go with the flow. Everyone's like, we're best friends. Like, okay, sure. We're not. But now it's like, I'm very intentional. My circle's small. Like, I might know a lot of people, have a lot of acquaintances. I'm friendly, but my like friends, there's not many of them, and I'm okay with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think, like you were saying, like it's important to have. I know who I can go to for what things. You know what I'm saying? Like I there's people that I know are really receptive to the emotional Orlando, and people that are like the more logical friends that will set me straight in that. You know what I'm saying? So like I know who is who and who's there for me in what ways.
Yeah, and that's a great point because we did like a training last year, and one thing that they talked about is understanding the roles people play in your life. And I think for me personally, I know Orlando as well, but like I'm like a really big empath, and so I'm like very big on like people, and you know I'm very like emotional, and I try to like care for people and like invest too much, and so when people kind of like separate at times, it kind of feels, I don't know, it was hard for me to kind of adjust. 'Cause I'm like, hey, that's my friend, or that's somebody in my corner, and then now like they're not anymore, and they're acting funny, and so I had to understand other people's dynamics and relationships, and I guess like being okay with different people, especially in this transitional period where something is happening, and then like, oh, this person's in charge of this, and I have to answer to this person, and all those other things. I kind of had to learn the roles like people will play, and like how I can best like communicate, because then I can get like the most out of it. And I learned it in everything, like my classes, you know, work, friends, all that other stuff. And I think that helps me appreciate it more. Just kind of to your point, like I know who I can go and talk to about X, Y, and Z, and I know who I can talk about with A, B type stuff, you know. It's like, it's more clear now, and then I know what to expect from people, so I don't set myself up for disappointment.
That's like the power of letting go, like learning how to do that, which is not easy because I am you just 10 years ahead. You know what I mean? Like that was, he knocked my arm.
I'm about to say, talk about your transitions.
There've been so many. they look so, it's almost like, what rabbit hole do we want to jump into? You know what I mean?
How long do we have?
It's a lot. I mean, I can relate to yours. From 5th to 6th was rough. And being in a Caribbean household, Lord knows. Because no one preps you, no one tells you what that looks like. And I did not understand how difficult that would be, right? But these are the moments when I learned to start advocating for myself, because you can't come home with anything less than a B, and like a B plus.
It's a B for you?
It was a B for me. But I don't think they knew the correlation between the letter and the number. Because I was like a straight A student in elementary school, but once I got to middle,
it was over.
I was hitting 40s, like 40,
not Fs.
Yo.
Wow.
It was geography.
F for 40?
Geography was still not my thing. and then my next test was like a 60, like 1.
Ooh, 4 points away from pass.
When
That's
I tell
progression.
you, I was so proud of myself. Thank you. I was like,
Growth.
oh, look, I'm figuring it out. I'm making strides, and the response. Money, what wrong with you?
Oh my God,
I love this. I love this so much.
I felt that one. I felt like I was back home.
It was just so much pressure to like uphold a certain standard, or to be a certain way, or to, present yourself a type of way. And it took me a while, but I eventually had to say, I am putting enough pressure on myself. I don't need it from you too. And it just stopped altogether. So it was always like I don't know what community it looked like. I didn't have that. It was like me gonna make it. I'm gonna do it no matter what. Like school was my outlet, and it was my way, and it was the only driving force I had to get where I need to go. So, move up to 18, transition out of Brooklyn, all I know, to this place.
Yo, that transition.
Why 4?
Yeah, listen.
Why?
60.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. I was tricked. But either way,
I just listened to that one today on the way here.
Which one was that?
How she got here?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what, though? Since we're here, so if y'all didn't catch this in the beginning, these are amazing college students. So for folks, there are probably going to be people who have college folks in their vicinity, right, who they either can say, hey, go listen to this, or are going to repeat this, or are going to listen to this and go through it. What would you say as you transition into college for folks who, because we're going to be there in a few months, back here in the fall. I know it's just December. We want to talk about it. But they're going to be back here soon.
Say it like that.
It goes quick. So what would you say for students who are about to get ready to pick a college and go into, right?
Oh.
And then what should they expect as they navigate, right?
Okay.
Talk about that. Because y'all closer to that than us.
Get scholarships.
Oh, yeah.
Do your research about scholarships and stuff. I think that, like, you can get scholarships for being short. Not even a joke. Like, I got mine for being black.
Yeah.
Just cause.
Those are the best.
Like you just they're the best ones.
This one's for glasses. Like
there are. Being blind gets you a scholarship, whether it's legally or not.
You don't have to be a top athlete to get a scholarship.
Don't.
But if you're good at a sport, then
do it.
Milk it.
I would say that you have to go into it with an open mind and to not have expectations about specific things. Like on a serious note, like I expected so much from my college experience, and my freshman year was absolutely terrible. Hated it. Would never do it again. 10 out of 10 would not recommend. And I'm very open about that. Not because like my college was bad. It was I wasn't prepared for any aspect of being in college at that point. And I commuted, and I hated commuting. I was a double major. Mistake. I was a musician, and I was music and I was physics. And at Roberts, those are some of the most intensive majors. It's like nursing, music, physics, and there's another one I can't remember. Social work, I think. Like those are the intent, like really, really intense in undergrad. And I picked 2 out of the 4. And I wasn't prepared. I didn't know anyone. I didn't make friends like that because everyone lived on campus. Yeah. Everyone was friends. I didn't make my first friend till October, really. And I just expected so much. Like I wanted to live on campus. I wanted to have a community that like of people that looked like me that I could hang out with all the time. And although those people there, I wasn't in the same circle as them, so I couldn't. I didn't even get to interact with them because we never had classes together or anything. So I would say don't have. Not to not have high expectations, but to be open to the change that's about to happen and expect it to be a very big transition. Change in your life, because it really, I say that like college is the elementary school of your adult life. Is what I say. It's it forges you. Thank you.
That was deep.
I need a contract. Looking for a job.
Write your slogan.
Because like elementary school is, like I said earlier, the most developmental aspects of your life is when you're in elementary school. That prepares you for life. College prepares you for adulting, really, like how to be in the real world, how to manage money, how to handle relationships, you figure out yourself. So I think people go into college thinking they know themselves. That's what I did. Big good no. Not true. So yeah, I would say be open is the main thing. There's a lot of other things, but
yeah, that was good.
I'm sure you got some tips and tricks.
Well, do some APs. I think that's important because there could have been a lot of classes I could have avoided if I just did them. So I'm just going to put that out there.
What's APs, by the way?
Oh, advanced placement. So college courses, or there's sometimes
dual enrollment too. Oh my God, those are
you don't have to be a certain student to do that. You can look at your local community college and see if you can do classes because that helps.
Because they don't do that in Detroit.
Oh no, they got APs. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Everywhere it does it, and sometimes they call them something different.
There's IB too.
Yeah, and sometimes they're actually they make it a little bit difficult to get in for particular groups of folks. But so keep explaining that so people know.
So sometimes it can be, but then there's also your local community colleges that will just let you do that as well.
Yes.
And so that was something where I wish I took more advantage of.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. That's a good thing to do. One thing my brother told me, my oldest brother, when I came into college, he said, now you're going to have to do the hard work of maintaining and keeping in touch with your friends from high school.
Oh. Right.
And he was he said it's okay if it ends up deteriorating over time, but just know this is you got to put work into it because everyone's going into their own spaces. Shout out, bro. And I can honestly say I have 2 friends from that whole 12 years of schooling that I still have. And they're there's some people I still know here and there, but my friends, probably only 2. And that's a lot in most cases. Some don't have any.
At all.
Yeah. Don't say the name so people won't know who you're talking about. So
no, I'm
they
not.
They think it's them. They you're talking about me. It's really not.
Yeah, you said you went on that podcast talking about me. I'm her friend from high school.
Ooh. Maybe not. But yeah, so that was something that I kind of had to learn. And it was hard at first. Yeah. But throughout the year, or throughout my freshman year, there were just people who I just didn't care to keep in contact with, and that's okay. So just kind of learn to kind of ease into that transition. Don't be too hard, with it, because over time you're gonna find those people, which is really important as well. And then also be open, like Orlando said. I think he honestly hit it on the head, but just be open to different things. You don't have to do everything your roommate does.
Oh
You don't have to do everything, people around you do at all. Like, go to different events, like be involved. I think your first 2 years of college is when you have more time to be involved. Your junior and senior years when you start getting into internships and, your job and stuff like that. But like when you come in, like just experience a whole bunch of new things, clubs, student senate, different opportunities. I mean, I'm just speaking from our college what we have, but like there's so many vast things that you can do. Join a fraternity, join a sorority, do stuff that like you probably won't have time to do later on, but don't limit yourself to the people around you, and don't try to find people that are similar to your friend group in high school.
Oh my God.
Like try to like just expand your horizon, because you never know like the blessing you could receive if you're friends with that one person who just sits by themselves in class. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know how important they could be to your life. So don't limit yourself. And
I love that.
Dope.
Yeah.
Put yourself out there.
What we gonna ask since we a little far away? You feel me?
Nah, don't come for me, because recently actually I saw 2 of my kids who are graduating high school this year.
Now, so what are we gonna add?
I'm adding because I saw my kids and they inspired me. So like anybody who don't know, I'm a school counselor for elementary school, and it's been 9 years. So my first set of kids are graduating from high school this year, right? And I just happened to run into them. But anyway, I looked one of them dead in the eyes and I was like, take the scholarship. Like she got a full ride to RIT. And I was like, she's like, I don't know. I was like, the loans aren't worth it, right?
No.
Not at all.
But besides that, I'm an echo, be open. But because I was that student who went to school and was just so focused on, getting straight A's, because that's what I did through all my school, take the pressure off of yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like passing the class is the most important thing. So you don't have to repeat it because you're paying money for it unless you take the scholarship. However, it's like no one's looking at those grades a year, 2 years, 3 years from now. Like once you graduate, you got the degree. That is what's important. So like not only was I not open to anything, like I did not follow my roommate. I just didn't do anything. Like be open, try all the things that you're interested in, things you never thought you'd be interested, try it. But also just take the pressure off yourself. Like try your best, but do not kill yourself and lose sleep over grades. If you pass, you pass. That's what's important.
It's okay to fail.
Yeah, and that actually
Failure brings growth.
yes, failure is just a lesson.
Build character.
Just if you're paying for the
Hard
course,
one.
though, pass it. Try to
No,
pass
for
it.
sure pass it. But like, I didn't pass my first physics classes,
Yeah,
and it told me don't be physics major.
you learn
Physics
from
major.
it.
How do you gracefully handle failure?
Yeah. Oh, but you know what? Though? I'm gonna come right back to that, to this college thing. No, we actually talk about that. But to the college joint, something like as I'm getting further away that I'm looking back thinking about, and you was saying it, and I'm gonna repeat it, is literally the least amount of learning I did was in the classroom. Yeah, that was the least amount of learning I did. In all seriousness, though, like when I really think about that, like what I actually learned, the things that helped me now were life lessons that came in things that like were about the classes, not necessarily the class itself or the information I got, right? Like that was important memorization, what I needed to know to get my degrees and pass. Oh, that's great. But like how I handle people, like how do I navigate relationships? You know what I'm saying? Finances, like when to know when enough is too much, right? I have too much on my plate, how to say no, boundaries. Like all of those things are like the bedrock to a successful life. Because if you can do that well, you can do well in the class, right? Like time management.
Right.
If you can't do that, you're not gonna pass anyway.
Anything at all.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And you gonna get fired when you get to your job anyway. So it's like
No
all
money,
of those
no
things,
job.
like the least amount of learning I did was about the classes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that was a lot of self-navigation, too, because like
Yes.
nobody's telling you this.
Facts.
You're just walking into it. Don't be blind. We got you.
Yeah, and seek out those people who it's people there, like the relationship I end up building later when I think about it. It's like, oh, there are people there who can show me the way a little bit, right? Like it was, we didn't have enough trailblazers, but the people who that could have been there,
Yeah.
or if I would have let the old heads would have, they got that. Yeah, you was the OG. You was definitely the OG. I ain't gonna hold you.
I was there for you. What you talking about?
Yeah, Mo was the OG. She was one of them.
And I did it because I like linked up with juniors and seniors, and they gave me some advice. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Talk to the older people. Just ask them.
Yeah.
Find the OGs. But go ahead. You about to say something? I see it. It was bubbling.
Yeah. I mean, why not? I know. I won't turn down an opportunity.
Life advice.
Yeah. Ooh.
Always step in the door. No, I was just gonna say high school doesn't prepare you as much as it should
At all.
Okay, unless you go to a college prep high school.
Yes.
Which is sometimes hard to get into.
Very.
But if not, it just like time management, what you said is like is so key.
Oh my God.
And it's so like important because so the idea of getting involved, like I said earlier, that's nice and that's good and it's important because those are some things you're going to need on your resume, because if you just did college your whole 4 years, as much as being a student is important, you know, jobs do want to see other things, you know, if you're a leader, blah blah, all other stuff. But like you want to make sure you have time for certain things, because I just know, me personally, and probably all of us can attest to this, like there would be moments where I wasn't time aware, and so I would let other things that weren't important get in place of things that were important. And so it's like learning that it's not, time management is a skill, but it's something that you have to kind of go through to know. And so, you know, you can get the planner, you can do all the other stuff, but like say you lose a planner or you forget it, like every single semester, I kid you not, I buy a new planner and I start it for the first month and then it goes away. I don't know why. And they're such nice planners.
She had a stack of planners at the crib.
I really do.
Filled up for 30 days.
30 days. I'm just like, why do I do this? Google Calendars works. But like, I have to learn to be like, okay, set time apart, make sure that you do that, because it's important and you don't want to overdo yourself. And then at that point, you know, if you can handle work and jobs and school, most importantly, and clubs and students, you know what I mean? Like, you'll know throughout time, but don't burn yourself out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
No, I agree with that. I'm someone that I don't like doing nothing. Like, I don't want to be doing nothing, but I also don't want to be doing too much.
Yes.
Right. And I had to learn, like, I was the musician, the athlete, and like one of the smart kids in high school. So like I was in all the three groups. Like people are like, oh, that's a nerd, or they're an athlete, or dumb jock. Not true. Okay. I was not a dumb jock. Or like the musicians or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone had their little their niche. How do you say it?
Oh, yeah.
Both ways, you got it.
Tomato,
Okay,
tomato.
Potato, potato.
I wanted to add, but I couldn't.
So I did a lot, pretty much what I'm saying. And then when I got to college, I was like, I said, I don't want to be known as the black kid that sings. That's what I told myself going to college. I promise that's what I said. What happened?
Every national anthem.
The black kid that sings national anthem. Volleyball and basketball games. But I do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I'm not someone that likes, you know, people are like, well, I do things, and they try to, they find their validation and their worth in it. I'm not someone that, I don't care. I could be doing absolutely nothing. I could work one job and just go to school and I'd feel amazing. I don't do that, but it's good for me to have those outlets. I think, you know what I'm saying? Like to have that opportunity to do that. I'm like, for a long time was like, I'm going to say no because I don't think I'm ready. And I think that was a mistake, honestly, because I was just chilling and not really growing at all. Then I said, I'm going to say yes if I feel like, even if I feel like I can't do it, even if I feel like I'm going to struggle with it, I'm going to do it because that struggle is going to be good for me. And then I got to a point where I was like, well, now we have to balance it.
Right.
Now we have to balance it. And now we have to be like, going to what you said, like priorities, I think is what you were getting at, is like, I have to prioritize, okay, what do I need, first of all, first and foremost? I need to get my degree. I need to be good at my classes. I need to have a social group or people around me.
Right.
And I need to have time to chill. Those are my things. I need to have a job. And then I said, okay, what do I want? Do I want another job? Do I want to join more social things? Do I have the mental space, not only physical, but mental space to do that kind of stuff? Especially if you're in a leadership position, like you take on not only your stuff, but everybody that you are leading all the time. And that's a lot to go through. And I think a lot of college kids get burnt out very easily.
Very true.
Right now is that time of the semester when everyone's kind of I'm burnt out. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really am tired. I was in the car driving home. I was listening to the Beyonce song from the movie with the twins, King Richard. Be Alive? Is that from that movie?
Yeah.
It's a good song. Anyway, do we know what the song is?
I know the movie.
It was an amazing song, and it spoke to me. The spirit moved me. But it got me start thinking. It talks about like, you know, like I'm grateful to be alive. Like we went. There was a lot of crying. There was a lot of fighting. Like, you know, there was a lot of struggle to get to being alive. And I think that was more than just living, but like living and enjoying life. And I feel like that's the goal. You know what I'm saying? That should be the goal, is to enjoy life in college, especially.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people, like, college should be the most fun years of your life, in my opinion.
I hear
Absolutely.
that.
Self-discovery.
Yes, because it's like you have an identity when you get here because of everything you've done. Some people put that value or like how you've been seen for so long, and you get to college and it's like that doesn't exist anymore. No one knows you, and it's like you have that time to discover what it is you like and who you really are, rather than feel like you have to fit into a box or be a certain way. And unfortunately, it took me after college to figure that out. So I encourage anyone, do that self-discovery work, that self-reflection.
That's a part of the transition. I think that is where, like, every time I'm transitioning, whether it was in college, whatever it might be, it's like it was rediscovering myself and redefining who I am, and that's just a part of it. Like, you got to be open to that, because if not, you won't grow
at all.
You won't grow. No, that's good. And so
stagnant, ain't it?
So actually, we just gave a lot of good advice for the folks who got some college people in their sphere, or if you're in college thinking about it. So y'all welcome. So,
free game.
Yeah, free game, y'all. So all right. So transitions in general. If you wanted to leave, or like, what advice, tools, tips would you leave for people as they're looking towards transitions in any phase of their life? What would you say is important to remember or to keep?
Be honest with yourself, and be okay with being honest with yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are very not open to criticism when it's from other people, especially. But I think it's even harder for some people to take the criticism they give themselves. Some people just like, oh, I suck, but they don't really like say, okay, but why do I feel that way? Right. What can I do to not feel like I'm not good enough in this moment, or I'm not whatever, or that I am having a problem, or I am struggling. And I think it's important to take that time to be like, all right, well, yeah, this is hard. No one wants to admit that things are hard. That's just a reality. That's the fact. Like, especially in our culture, like, there's no way. I'm trying to think about people in my family. There's no way they're being like, yeah, that was rough. I have never, like, as much as, like, I'm first generation, I only hear, like, they talk about, we did this, or we, whatever. But they talk about that stuff like it was just what it was. That's what they lived in. Like, growing up in a shack, in the jungle, like, growing up in gang-infested neighborhoods, like, that's just what they did. So there was no, like, looking back, they're like, that wasn't the best. But they'll never be like, that was awful. It was the worst. You know what I'm saying? It was just, that was the life they lived. So, yeah, I think being honest and open and being like, that's not fun.
Yeah, that's good, though.
It's not fun.
You go through life in general, like, and this is a reflection of, this is figuratively and literally, like, the person you look at the least is yourself. Think about that. You know what I mean? That's, like, real talk. Like, in all reality, the person we look at the least is ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We spend so much time looking at other people, and so, like, we don't self-reflect. We don't take our time to do that.
Yes, we're not narcissists. I see you. That was good.
Oh, you know about that story. Yeah. But just that.
Or maybe you are a narcissist. No, hear my point. Or maybe it is like a narcissist thing. That's why you don't want to look internally.
Oh, because you think you're perfect.
Because you think everything's okay.
Oh, wow.
I feel a little division over here.
I didn't mean that at you.
Yeah, I
just want you to
I'm
know.
on my island.
It's not. That wasn't personal. Leading into actually what I was gonna say.
Leading into your tips. Your tips.
Transitions.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I was going to say, like, don't fight what's happening. And just kind of, like, to that point, like, it is so hard. And I keep going back to the same thing, but I just think it's so true. It's so hard to, like, face your demons. And I think a part of transition is facing your demons. And it's not, like, you may not know what the transition is. You may not know, like, how it's going to come, when it's going to come. But what's inevitable is, in order to grow and move on, you have to tackle some things that are bothering you internally. And however they may be, it may be therapy, may be family, may be like confession, to people that hurt you, dealing with trauma that you didn't think was trauma. For me, my traumatic event, I didn't think it was a traumatic event because, growing up in church and, like, especially my dad did, like, missions work, my parents do. And so I would see these testimonies, and they're like, I came out of, like, crack addiction and all those other things, and I'm just like, wow, like, that's traumatic. So I didn't recognize my trauma as being trauma, and now I was realizing that, oh my gosh, it's still showing its face, and I have to, like, confront that in order to move on. So, like, deal with it and acknowledge it. You know what I mean? Like, it's your truth, it's what you went through. So face what's bothering you inside so that you can grow and, and be a better person and handle those transitions.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes. I could just echo what they said. Pretty much, like, accept challenges is what you were really hitting on. Like, things like you might not want to do it. It might not be good. Do it anyway. It's like which is like the best place to grow. So, like, if you say it, do it, and challenge yourself to get through it as best as you can, no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
Failure does lead to success.
it does.
It really does.
Yeah, it's cliche,
That's a
but it's
word.
true.
Yeah, as long as you
Very
get back up.
As
Like,
long
honestly, because you could fail and
I'd be
just say,
sleep-
woe
I'd be-
is me, and stay there. And it
I'd be
happens.
lying there for a second.
You know?
Not gonna lie to
So
you.
we fall down, but we get back up.
Sometimes
Thank you, Donnie.
fly.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's,
I didn't sing it. Don't trademark.
that's a real good point though. Like, sometimes people like when they're going through something, they will stay in winter because they refuse to go forward.
Yes.
And
Oh,
that
yeah.
is a fact.
And that was
Back
me.
to the
And I
seasons.
can admit that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I love the season. But nah, you know, if I had to like the tips or advice, no, not even being funny. Just at the time,
I mean,
We all were preparing. That we were like,
like he about to end it. No, but no. In all seriousness, I think the quickest way to get out of a maze is to mark where you've been. Right. In all seriousness, and so where I think about that, got the
Yes.
line. Okay,
Wow,
he still
wow.
that. Put that on the shirt. But no, hey,
Put it on a
but
t-shirt.
no. In all seriousness, though, I think as I think about my transitions, what I've noticed is they all repeat themselves in some way. They might be in a different place. It might be in a
good,
different
yeah.
different space. It might be in a
True.
different type of whatever it is.
Right.
But it really is repeating yourself, right? And like my same trigger points and my same trauma points and my same wounds from childhood and all that come back up. So like when I journal what's happening and I can go back to it, and I did that once where this is no joke. It was going into like the school year, and every time, and people would know this, when the school year was about to start, when I was working there, it was like anxiety for me. It's like, man, all this is coming back. We gotta do all these things, and all this pressure was coming.
Yeah.
And I remember one time, so I was taking a journal for like 3 years. And then one time I listened to the journal, like I was making a journal, and I said, let me go back and listen to my journal from last year. It was around the same time. And I was saying the same thing.
Wow.
And it hit me. I'm like, yo, you know what? Like, this is a pattern. So I had to come out with like things that I would do to prevent that. But it's because I marked where I had been, you know? And so I learned from that. And so I think for people, honestly, as they go through things, they don't even self-reflect. Like, they don't look in the mirror. They don't look at, they just go through it. And I would say you like really track your journey.
Right.
Are you growing? Are you making changes? Because if you're going through the same things over and over, like it's just a loop. Like you're really not gonna get out that maze, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Man,
good.
Yeah. I guess it's you at that point. It's
Yeah.
not really. It's not the circumstances. Not
Yeah.
anybody else. It's like,
Yeah.
nah, B. It's a little bit on you right now.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
And I just want to also reiterate, because I think when we're talking about transitions, we are kind of talking about it in a sense of like the light at the end of the tunnel. There might not be light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? Like, transitions are hard, and like they might always be hard. And even after you come out of that transition, like looking back, you might see the positive, but nothing about that period may be positive at all. Like, it could be a very, very hard thing. So,
Yeah.
and it's not easy either. And so it's like, take it with stride. You know what I mean? Understand that doing this could be like the best thing for you,
For sure.
but like it is one of those things where it isn't pretty,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like small
But
steps are still steps.
When you
so.
said earlier about how you said like don't be stuck in the season, I think that's good to be stuck in the season for a second. You know what I'm saying? Like
I
in
agree.
terms of like I tell people I learned this later in life, like it's okay to not be okay. I tell that to my Jamaican can attest to this. When my friends are going through something, they come to me, or like my brother or cousins, whatever, and they're like, I'm just not doing it. I'm like, that okay. That's all right. Like, it's okay to not be okay, because you're never going to be able to understand why and stop that from happening again if you don't take the time to be like, all right, I'm not good. Why? And it's okay to find out why. And whatever the why is, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's all right to be stuck in a sad place. Like, we teach the kids in school, like, the different zones of emotion. So like the green zone, the
Yes.
yellow zone, and the red zone.
Yes.
And it's like, are you in the red right now? And they're like, yeah, I'm in the red right now. And they're like yelling and screaming, throwing things around the room. And it's like, all right, you're in the red right now. How can we get you to the green? You know what I'm saying? Like it's you have to be able to feel everything to really process it and come out on the other side better. Like we said earlier, like if you just don't process it, it's just gonna snowball and be worse. You're gonna repeat the pattern over and over again, and it's just not healthy. I heard you say that line in one of the episodes. You're like, it's just not healthy. It's not healthy for your relationship. I'm like, wow, that's
good.
true.
Well, you know what though, and so to that point, like I think we're saying a similar thing, because it's like, because I don't think being stuck in a season doesn't mean that you don't recognize that you're in that season. You know, because I think because the worst thing is to be in the winter and be like, no, it's summer. We gonna put these shorts on and walk outside with these flip flops.
Rochester.
You know what I'm saying? Nah, legit.
Oh, that's so good.
Not today.
It's like, nah. Yeah. So I think it's both. I think we both saying good things in that.
Yes.
Like you should embrace that, right? Like you don't want to, like if we talking about to keep using the seasons. If you're trying to plant and grow things to the, like really have something that
garden.
If you're trying to get to the harvest, you can't be in winter forever. It won't work. You know what I'm saying? You can't be in summer forever. It won't work.
Then die.
But you gotta. But you have to embrace. Yeah, like you have to embrace. Like this is where you know what I mean.
That's a word.
Yeah.
Gonna have the rain to come.
Hey, come on.
Go on the field.
Well,
What?
yeah.
Let the harvest come so you can reap what you sow.
And listen,
That's Patrick.
then the congregation said, "What?"
Can I get an amen?
Listen, no, and then to this point too, though. Listen, they might be listening right now, like, what in the world is they talking about?
Was waiting.
You ready? Hey, listen, we might be right,
We might be wrong.
but at the end of the day,
We're just young, black, and figuring it out.
CC on the track, boy.